Welcome back. Today we're in our workbook starting on page 244. We're going to keep plugging away on tables, equations, and graphs. So come on around, let's take a look. First of all, aw, look at them. Okay, write an equation, complete the table, and graph to solve the problem. A puppy weighs 1 pound. What does the puppy weigh after 4 weeks? Puppy gains 1/2 pound each week. Oh, maybe he's saying, looks like he's saying that. Puppy gains 1/2 pound each week. Yep. All right, so let's see. That means that when the puppy is born, it weighs 0. No, that must be, let's see, Y is the weight in pounds and X is the number of weeks. Yeah, so when it's first born, it weighs, let's see, when it's first born, it weighs Y pounds. And then after 2 weeks, well, it says, I guess it's born, it only weighs 1 pound. And after 2 weeks, what will it weigh? If it gains 1/2 of a pound each week, then it's only going to weigh 2 pounds. Aww. And then after 3 weeks, it's only going to weigh 2 1/2 pounds. Oh, now let's graph it. Okay, 0, 1, and then 2, 2, and 3, just 2.5. It's a teeny tiny little puppy. Okay, I got so distracted by the cuteness of the puppy that I kind of did the problem for you, which is stupid. But here we go. What would the equation be for that one? What do you think? X plus, what do you think? I'll pause it and solve that one. Okay, I just realized, let's do the Y instead. It should be Y equals 1 because it was 1 pound when it was born, plus X over 2. X over 2 is the same as 1/2 X. Okay? All right, let's look at the next one. Model with math. During a movie matinee, a film projector broke. The theater manager refunded the ticket price to everyone attending. Let N represent the number of people watching the movie. Let R represent the total amount of money refunded. Write an equation to represent the amount of money refunded. Okay, so here we have the movie prices. We've got adults are 8, 50, children are 7, but it told us at the beginning it was a matinee. So that means everybody only pays $5. So if N is the number of people watching the movie and R is the total amount of money, what should the equation look like? What do you think? So the equation is supposed to represent the amount of money refunded. So that's R equals N is the number of people, and $5 is how much each of them get refunded. You could also write it, I always like to write it like that. R equals 5N. Okay? We don't know what the amount is because we don't know how many people were there, but this is the equation. All right, higher order thinking. Write an algebraic equation that matches the values shown in the table at the right. Explain how you solved the problem. So here are the values. 1, 8, 2, 11, 3, 14, 4, 17. What do you notice here? How can you express it as an equation? What is the relationship between X and Y? And then here is some practice. Carl wrote the equations Y equals 2X and Y equals X plus 2. Which equation represents the graph to the right? Here's the graph. Which one of those shows that graph? And then in part B, describe the relationship between the variables in the graph and the equation. Okay, pause the video here and work on those, and then turn it back on when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, so we already talked about that one, higher order thinking. So the algebraic equation that matches the value shown is y equals 3x plus 5. Let's test it out. Y is 8, x is 1. So 3x would be 3 plus 5 equals 8. Let's try it out for the next one. 3x, that would be 6, plus 5 equals 11, and so on. Okay, now for this one, the equation that represents that graph is y equals 2x. And the relationship is that y is twice the value of x. Okay? So now we're going to get into a little bit of review. On the next page, 245, here are the possible vocabulary words to place into those sentences. And then here, you're going to draw a line from each equation to the property of equality it illustrates. Then here we've got use vocabulary in writing. So describe how to solve 3/7 n equals 27, and use those vocabulary words in your explanation. Okay? So take a look at those, pause the video while you're solving them, and then come back and check. Okay, so up here I didn't talk about this, but really what we're using are properties of equality and inverse relationships to solve equations and inequalities, right? And here's how your sentences should have gone. In the equation y equals x plus 9, the variable x is the independent variable. An inequality has an infinite number of solutions. In the equation y equals x minus 9, the variable y is the dependent variable. And here's how we matched up. 4 went to the subtraction property of equality. 5 went to the multiplication property of equality. 6 went to the addition property of equality. And 7 went to the division property of equality. Now, in writing, using your vocabulary words, I said, multiply both sides by the inverse of the coefficient, which is 3/7. Or use the division property of equality and divide both sides by 3/7. Okay? Something similar to that. All right, let's look at page 246. Understand equations and solutions. Again, this is review, but let's take a look here. The solution of an equation makes the equation true. Substitute each of the given values into the equation for the variable to determine which value, if any, is a solution of the equation. Okay, so which value of x is a solution to the equation? And it gives you some possibilities. 13, 14.2, or 15.8. And then if you substitute those values in for x, you'll see which one or ones work. And in this case, it is 14.2. That's the one that works. So you're going to do the same thing with these. So for number 1, the equation is d plus 9 equals 25. And then over here, it gives you 4 different possible values for d, and you have to figure out which one is true. And the same for the others. All right, so do those, pause the video, start it up again when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, so for number 1, it was 16. For number 2, it was 33. For number 3, none of those values would work. For number 4, it's 3. And for number 5, again, none of those values would work. Okay, let's look at the second half of the page. Apply properties of equality. You know those by now, right? And here's a great little table right here. explains what each of them do. Practice. If 6 plus 2 equals 8, does 6 plus 2 plus 3 equals 8 plus 3? Why or why not? Same thing. It gives you 4 possibilities and asks you if they're true, and you have to say why or why not. So do those. Unpause the video when you're ready to check your answers. And here we go. If 6 plus 2 equals 8, does 6 plus 2 plus 3 equal 8 plus 3? Yeah, because you're adding the same amount to both sides. For number 2, no. You subtracted different amounts, so they're not going to be equal anymore. For number 3, yes, because of the multiplication property of equality, you multiplied both sides by the same amount, so they're still equal. And for number 4, no, you divided by different amounts, so of course they're not going to have the same value anymore. All right, let's take a look at page 247. And I think that's our last page for today. Yep. Okay, 247. Quick review. Use the inverse relationship of addition and subtraction or multiplication and division to solve equations. So remember, the inverse relationships means the opposite. So if you multiplied, you're going to divide. If it's divided, you're going to multiply. If you added, you're going to subtract. If you subtracted, you're going to add. For example, 23 plus y equals 57. So there's 23 added to that y, right? So to solve it, you're going to subtract 23 from both sides. Yes? For this one, you subtracted 12, so to solve it, you're going to add 12 to both sides because we want to get that a all by itself. Same thing here, 9z, well, that means 9 times z. So if you divide both sides by 9, you'll end up with just plain z. C divided by 4, so you're going to multiply by 4. Okay, practice. So here are 12 problems. Solve for x. Do those 12, and then start the video up again when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, x equals 8 for number 1. For number 2, x equals 9. Number 3, x equals 2400. Number 4, x equals 30. Number 5, x equals 24. Number 6, x equals 17. Number 7, x equals 11. Number 8, x equals 686. Number 9, x equals 2. Number 10, x equals 5 2/10. Number 11, x equals 51. And number 12, x equals 16. Okay. Remember when we were working on equations that were that simple? I bet those feel really easy now. Okay, let's look at the second half here. Write and solve equations with rational numbers. You can use inverse relationships and properties of equality to solve each equation. Okay, so like for this one, w plus 4 1/3 equals 7. Well, you added 4, it's added 4 1/3, right? So you're going to subtract 4 1/3 from both sides. So that is the inverse relationship, and you're using the subtraction property of equality because you're subtracting. With this one, 3/5 n equals 2/3. So multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 3/5 or 5/3, and you'll get n equals 10/9 or 1 1/9. Okay, now using those, solve these ones. We've been working on these problems with fractions, so hopefully that will feel familiar. There's a couple of word problems here. Tomas buys a bag of 5 peaches for $3.55. Write and solve an equation to find how much money M Tomas paid for each peach. And then we've got Chris has $1.54 and spends 76 cents of it. Write and solve an equation to find how much money M, Chris, has left. Okay, work on those and start the video up again when you're ready to check your answers, or if you just need a little hint. Okay, here we go. X equals 3 5/8. X equals 4 3/4. X equals 125. X equals 3. X equals 27. Number 6 is X equals 5 25/100. Number 7 is X equals 1 6/10. Number 8, X equals 5 1/10. And then for this one, my equation was 5m equals $3.55. And then I divided both sides by 5, and I got m equals 71 cents. So each peach costs 71 cents. And then for this one, I said $1.54 minus 76 cents equals m, and m equals 78 cents. Okay. All right, I hope those went well for you. Remember that you can always put questions in the comments below, or you can email them to me, or you can save them for our small group meetings. All right, guys, good work. I will see you next time. Bye.